Hi, everybody. This presentation focuses on segmentation and targeting. We will focus on positioning in another module, but as part of the framework for marketing strategy formation. So we're going to cover the criteria for effective segmentation, the approaches, steps in target marketing. Again, we will cover these concepts in another module. First thing I'd like to do is to review the framework for marketing strategy formation that you read about in Module 1 from your Harvard course pack. This is the framework within which we're operating, or which marketing strategy formation is formulated. So right now we're pretty much focusing on the analysis and research portion, which is the 5 C's that we talked about. That is really the most important part of marketing strategy formation. You can't form effective marketing strategy without performing the analysis and research that's part of the 5 C's. These are the 6 parts of the marketing process, but within that, breaking it down, are the 3 interrelated elements of marketing strategy formation. So the activities that you're working on right now in the course are right here in the analysis portion. Once you're done with this analysis and research, then you can move on to making the effective decisions as part of the marketing strategy formation process, which are the STP, or the segmentation, targeting, and positioning, that this PowerPoint is focusing on. So first of all, segmentation, or part of the decision component of the 3 interrelated elements that make up marketing strategy formation, is market segmentation, which is essentially dividing a market into meaningful smaller markets or submarkets based upon common characteristics, which we're going to talk about demographics and psychographics and why those things are important to identify for effective marketing communication strategy. And then evaluating those segments, and then making decisions about these segments to make them into targets that are the most worthy of investing for development. And again, we're going to get into positioning later on. So market segmentation, again, dividing a market into meaningful smaller markets based upon common characteristics. The benefits of this to the organization is you can identify unfulfilled needs, you can better design products and services, and really more targeted promotions. That's really important. It's more efficient use of marketing investment because you know who your customer is. If you don't break your market into segments and then subsequent targets, it's very difficult to create focused, effective marketing communication strategies. So for us, the customer, segmentation creates convenience and time and savings and tailored products and services. So products and services that are focused and created specifically for us. So for instance, females from the age of 18 to 25 who are college educated have different needs than males 18 to 25, and so on. So segmentation, which we're going to be doing as part of this module, or beginning that segmentation process, seeks to find one or more factors about members of a market that create the ability to break these into smaller groups. And that's the key. These groups have to be distinguishable from each other. So characteristics that are common in a segment but are different and easily distinguishable from another segment. So here's an example. An undifferentiated market is just females. Unique is females 18 to 25. Breaking that into a segment to a target is females aged 18 to 25, unmarried with a master's degree or higher. So this is just an example of, here is a market, here is a segment, and here's a target. Now these are just demographics. Again, we're going to get into the difference between demographics and psychographics and why these play an important role in segmentation and targeting. So there are some key things to remember to effectively break markets into segments and then ultimately targets. Number one, not all customers are alike. Every customer has different needs, wants, lifestyles, purchasing power, a variety of characteristics that you need to take into consideration when you are creating marketing strategy. Subgroups of customers can be identified on some basis of similarity. Again, for instance, there's females. A subgroup of that is females who are in this age range. And then a further delineated target is adding characteristics in, like looking for females who are unmarried, with a certain education level. So in order to assess if once you have gone through the segmentation process, if you have effectively done so, first of all, you have to make sure that this segment is of sufficient size to warrant investing in creating strategy for that segment. So for instance, if you break a market into segments and that segment only has about 1,000 people in it, that's probably not enough to warrant investing in marketing to that segment. Again, and number two, the segment needs to be readily identifiable and it can be measured. You have to be able to measure the segment or quantify the size of that segment. And it needs to be able to be clearly differentiated on one or more important dimensions. So some key factors, whether that be age, income, education level, and certain psychographic factors, which we will touch on. And the segment can be reached. You can identify a really great market segment, but if you can't reach them in terms of marketing communication, then it's really not a viable segment. So here are some components that you would use in developing market segments. Geographic segments. Which you really need to be very strategic when considering. And I'll show you an example of that in a subsequent slide that's coming up. But geographic could be a state, a city, a zip code. Demographic. Demographics are always used in market segmentation. So those are statistical data such as age, generation, gender, house size of household, race or ethnicity, income, occupation, education, and so on. Psychographics are different, and demographic analysis should be complemented by psychographic analysis. Demographics alone in creating market segments is really not enough. Using two or more of these dimensions is really going to create the most effective segment. Psychographics are attitudes, beliefs, lifestyles. You're going to do an exercise on VALS, strategic insights, psychographic analysis within this module. And then there's behavioral, which is consumer habits, looking for patterns in how certain consumers make purchases, the things they look for, things they use. So now we move on to targeting. So once you've, again, created that segment, you're going to analyze it. And then you're going to develop a profile of each potential market within that segment, and then select a target marketing approach. So in analyzing these market segments, one of the things that you would do is ask the question, is the segment a good candidate for investment as a target market, using that criteria that we talked about a few slides ago. The goal is to determine how attractive these segments are using an ROI, or return on investment approach, or actually return on marketing investment. This should actually be ROMI. And you assign the highest level of attractiveness to the segments that provide the quickest, highest level, and longest sustaining anticipated ROMI. What that essentially means is, for instance, if you identify a market segment of females age 18 to 25 who are unmarried with a master's degree or higher, you would need to do some forecasting of how much business you could obtain from that target market versus how much you would invest in marketing to that segment. And then if it appears, if once you have calculated this, that there would be a positive return on marketing investment, then there is a level of attractiveness indicating that it would be worthy of investment. So number two, you want to develop profiles of each potential target market, again, within that segment. So there are really 4 different types. So there's primary target markets. So target markets that appear to be the most attractive, those that would yield the highest return on marketing investment, are those the ones that you would want as a primary target market. Those were the ones you would want to focus on first. So in the case of the Milwaukee Urban Winery project, we're going to be working on identifying primary target markets. So which markets should the Urban Winery project focus on over the next 12 to 18 months as they're in the startup phase that would be to have the best chance for a high return on marketing investment. And then the remaining markets you're going going to want to sort of rank. And you always want to have a secondary target market identified, sometimes for a backup, but also for future growth. So identifying markets that have some potential, but really are not ready for immediate development, but you're going to want to kind of keep on the back burner to keep an eye on. And then there's tertiary target markets. And those are the segments that, again, have some attractiveness for in the future, but not at present. So then select your target marketing approach. So there's undifferentiated, which is the broadest possible approach, a one market strategy. This is really not something, this is referred to as mass market. Very few businesses use this approach. One example might be the airlines, because they might use a low cost or fair competition strategy. There's differentiated, which is developing different value offerings for different segments. So some companies like resorts might use a differentiated approach, so creating special vacation packages just for couples, or creating special vacation packages just for families. Then there's concentrated, which is more than likely the approach that we're going to use when we're identifying market segments and target markets for the Milwaukee Urban Winery project. Concentrated is targeting a large portion of a small market. And then there's customized, which you really need a learning relationship with the customer, and it really requires some very deep customer knowledge. The fashion industry is probably one that a lot of the new very customized fashion designers or clothing outlets that you're seeing promoted on social media are like Stitch Fix, Style Master, build your own outfit, design your own menu, Plated, Blue Apron. Those are very customized approaches. So again, positioning is something that we're going to get to in the next module. So that's where we're going to end for now, where the segmentation and target marketing are concerned. If you have questions, you can reach out to me. And just remember that the hard copy of these PowerPoint files are always available within the module that you found the video.